Yeah, old school. That's what I'm talking about. Listen, this ain't for everybody. Some of y'all need to hear this. I know you're in the trenches fighting, but check it out. I'm gonna put it down like this so I can help the saints understand. Everything you're going through is all part of the master plan. Or what? You thought cause you got saved everything was gonna be peaches and cream? You better wake up, son. Don't nothing come to a sleeper but a dream. Faith without works is dead. Read your Bible, you know what it says. He who don't work don't eat. Blackers don't get fed. Yeah, Jesus said he who puts his hand to the plow looks back the same ain't fit. Some of y'all ain't been in the trenches 5 minutes and you about ready to quit. I ain't mad at ya, I'm just hitting you with the real. If you died for me and I was still tripping, now how you think that make you feel? Check this out, deep game, this here's deep. Some of y'all ain't sawing nothing but you started trying to reach. But unto him who is able to possess your fathers by his glory. Struggles might be part of your testimony, but it ain't the end of the story. Now the point is this was prophesied way back in the day. Choir, sing your hook right here and see if the church can relate.
I know we can make it. I know good and well. God can work it out. He'll work it out. I know we can make it. We can make it. I know good and well. God can work it out. Yes, he can. Yes, he can.
Thinking not strange, the fiery trials will to try you. You say, why you? But your church say, what would Jesus do? Why you asking if he ain't trying to do what he's saying? He told you he was going to have tribulations, but you thought he was playing. 1 minute you're telling how good God is and can't nobody beat your talk. The next minute you're backfighting so fast, it's like you're moonwalking. Oh yeah, I'm preaching to myself because I ain't no better. It ain't like I've been following his every word, obeying it to the letter. But we soldiers, we got to remember that. Regroup, stay on point. Yeah, bow down, confess, repent, stay humble, let him anoint. It ain't easy as I thought it was. I'd be lying if I told you that. But it showed up getting better all the time. Trust me, that's the fact. Ain't nothing we going through that can't be handled. God put that on his son. Like they say, you can shout now if you want to, cause the battle's already won. So while you're going through the valley, don't even trip. You're gonna be on top. Choir, sing the hook line one more again. This time you don't stop.
I know we can make it. We can make it. I know good and well. God can work it out. Yes, he can. Yes, he can. He'll work it out. We can make it. I know good and well. Oh yeah.
Yeah, we're going to pump the brakes right there. This is your host, Lamont Patterson, and you listen to Can a Player Play. We just had to get a few minutes to Big Boy upstairs, you know, because there's a whole lot of crazy mess going out there today. And it's my belief, and I hope it is yours, with his help, you know, he's going to intervene and help us see our way through this thing called life, you know. We certainly appreciate you taking time out to listen to the show. We definitely hope wherever you are, wherever you be, you're somewhere being safe, really being safe in these trying times. And having said all that, we have a great show lined up for you today as well. We have Miss Cece Reeves going to be joining us, author of the book, The Breaking Point. And we're going to be touching on some very sensitive issues. You know, a lot of people need to talk about it, but they don't want to talk about it because sometimes it's going on in their own household or next door, or they got a friend or somebody. You know, we're going to be talking about that subject, domestic violence, and it's all kind of violence, abuse, mental abuse, sexual abuse, physical abuse, just abuse. It's all kind of crazy stuff going on out there. And we're going to be chatting it up with Miss Reeves. Let me see if she's in the building.
Hi, Lamont.
Miss Reeves, are you with us? Hi. Oh, I'm wonderful.
Hi,
How
yes,
are you?
I am with you. I'm very good. Thank you.
Thank you so much for taking time out to join us. How is you? You doing well?
I'm doing well. You know, God willingly and by his grace, I am doing well. Thank you for asking, and thank you for the opportunity to be on your show today.
Oh, well, thank you. You know, we definitely need to, you know, to talk about this stuff more, you know.
Yeah.
Yes, we really never ever get into it because for some reason people don't want to talk about it. They act like it don't exist until it happened to them some kind of way.
Yes, I agree with you. I definitely agree with you about that. It is a topic that, you know, definitely needs more awareness to be brought, especially with COVID pandemic. You know, we are seeing a rise, not just nationally, but globally across the world. So it is a topic that we definitely need to bring light to.
Right. People got to be huddled up all in the house, and they can't really go outside and get that relief, so they stay in the house and take it out on themselves and their loved ones and everybody else.
Exactly.
So, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know, and I don't know why you don't know, but I love the topic of the show. Why does she stay? Why doesn't she just leave? And it's definitely want to talk about that as well, because there's a whole lot of reasons people stay. I don't know. We're going to let you talk about it, Miss Reeves. So tell us a little bit about you. Who is Cece Reeves?
Well, thank you for asking. I'm a Christian author. I'm also a nurse and a proud mother of 2 wonderful girls living out here in New York and working in this pandemic.
Oh, wow. You
right
there. You right there hands-on with this pandemic, huh?
Yes. I actually got my nursing license over a year ago, and my first job as a nurse was to work in urgent care, and I started about a month into the pandemic. So it was quite a challenging time, a very surreal time for me to start, my first job as a nurse during this pandemic. But with this vaccine now being out, we're very hopeful now,
I know it's all kind of information going on about the vaccine and misinformation.
Right.
And misinformation. I don't want to get too far off our topic, but as you being a nurse, how do you feel about the vaccine?
With everything that's been going on, I feel very hopeful, about this vaccine right now. It's brought to us, and at first it's going to be given to, the essential workers, frontline workers, and the elderly. But, over time it will be available to everyone at no cost. So I am hopeful. I'm optimistic. I'm praying about it, and I hope God will help us through this very trying time right now, because we need something. We need hope, especially this time. We definitely need some hope.
Yeah. Say it ain't so, but yes, it is. So listen, Cece, did you start, did you start writing before you became a nurse? When did you start doing that?
Oh, yeah. I started writing at a very young age. I was about 8 years old when I started developing my creativity. And, I learned how to write from as early as 3rd grade. I had a great teacher named Mr. Kirby. He used to teach all the students how to develop their imagination. We started writing topics on, like, my flying unicorns, my talking pencils. He really reached to us and brought these topics alive. And I think that's what created that, momentum in me to, want to write. And then later over the years, other teachers as well, inspired me to write even more. And it was a way of therapy for myself, when I was going through some hard times as a child. This topic of domestic violence is very personal to me because I lost some family members to domestic violence. Back when I was 14, I had 2 cousins who were age 14 and 9 years old, and my 32-year-old aunt were murdered by their husband and father. So it was some way of me dealing with that and carrying that through my life as therapeutic to me. So writing was very important to me at an early age.
And I understand that you're a Christian as well. Did your personal relationship with the domestic violence issue, did that drive you into the church? Did that have some, how am I trying to say this? Did that have some type of influence on your direction?
Say that my faith became stronger going through those challenges and storms of my life with domestic violence, but I grew up in a Catholic household. My father was very spiritual. My mom was very spiritual as well. Prayer was very important in our family. We learned, about God at an early age. We were baptized But I always had my own personal prayer life with God from the age of 7. When I became, later on in the years, when I became like in my 20s, I kind of lost that connection. I didn't find it so much as a connection in the Catholic Church. And then I went through a separation from my husband back then, and I think it was in 2009. And I had to raise 2 girls by myself. And I went through a lot. And then later on, I was involved in a very toxic relationship with the first man that I had fallen in love with after my separation from my ex-husband. So throughout that time, I feel like I was brought to the Christian faith. I can remember as early as when a low point in my life when I turned the TV on and I saw a preacher talking about the Word of God in a way that I've never seen in a Catholic church. And it was T.D. Jakes, great anointed man, very blessed man. And, he had reached me in a way that I have never felt that God had reached me in the Catholic Church. And I'm not putting the Catholic faith down. It was just a different connection for me, having listened to a Christian sermon. And from that point on, I got more interested in the Christian faith. A friend invited me to a Christian sermon and a service, and I went. And from that point on, I just started to go to Christian services, and many years later became baptized in a Christian church. I made that declaration of my faith, and I'm proud that I did because, God is amazing, and he's moved in my life in ways that I never thought was imaginable.
So definitely God played a part in you coming out of the toxic relationship.
Yeah.
Was the guy, was it more of a physical abusive type situation, mental abuse, or
it
both?
Was, with all physical abusive relationships, emotional abuse always precedes that. And while my personal relationship with my toxic abuser was more emotional than physical, there were physical abuse. There were times of physical abuse between me and him where I suffered. And but the emotional abuse is just as powerful as being physically abused in a relationship because the emotional abuse breaks you down mentally, and we state that because it's just so hard even after you leave a relationship that the healing takes, to get to a point where you're rich and you're able to say, I came out of it, I survived it. So it's just so important to be aware that emotional abuse is just as harmful as the physical abuse is.
I guess now would be a good time to ask this question. Well, why does she stay and why doesn't she just leave?
Women, I find that women often say, I know that I did, with an abusive partner because you're afraid of leaving. You're afraid of starting over. Maybe it could be financial security. You're afraid that your partner is going to physically lash back at you. You're just afraid to even admit to yourself that you are a victim of abuse. It's just not something that you want to talk about, you want to share. And then by admitting and leaving, you have to tell your family and your friends that you are being abused or you are in a relationship that is abusive. So there's just so many different reasons why women stay with an abusive partner. And then I know for myself, having gone through the experience that I went through, you also think back to, this person that you fell in love with did not start off as a monster. He was charming. He was charismatic. He drew you in. And this is, the type of narcissistic behavior that an abuser will show. He'll love bomb you. He'll show you lots of things of how much he supposedly loves you, whereas, ask you questions about yourself. Even in the earlier times, you might think there's a little bit of jealousy, but it's kind of cute. And you feel like no one understands you better than him in the beginning. So he doesn't come out as a monster in the very beginning. He's very charming in the beginning, and that's what I found. My abuser was very charming in the beginning. He was a family person. He was very talkative. He was the center of attention, and I loved that. Wherever we went, everybody knew him. But you hold on to these, like if you have like a 90% bad times and 10% good, a victim usually holds on to that 10% and say, well, he can change. And your abuser will even give you promises that he is changing and he's getting the help that he needs, only for the cycle to continue, again. And so it's hard. There's so many reasons why people stay in a relationship that's like that.
What would you say to a person that's in an abusive relationship and don't realize that? What I mean by that question is, if say an individual came up in a household and that's all they've seen from their parents, and then they reenacted the same scenario when they got in a relationship, and for other people, outsiders, it would seem definitely as abusive and crazy, but to them it appears to be their normal.
The thing, if you're growing up in a household where you're seeing this as your norm, you're typically going to accept that as normal behavior. So it's our job as parents to teach our children what real love is. It's supportive, it's nurturing, to get help, especially when families are in conflict, to seek out help and counseling, to recognize, these different elements of a relationship and what the dynamics can have on the children. Because, 1 in 15 children are exposed to intimate partner violence. The statistics show that, and it's just, and the other statistics are like 1 in 4 women have experienced at least physical or sexual violence by a current or previous partner. So these things are all rooted in the family. And if you grew up in that, then you're going to think that that's the norm, and you're going to justify the behavior that you're receiving in that relationship. So we have to be more, teach our kids about what real love is, and what it's not.
How do you think society plays into this?
Society passes judgment a lot. I can't tell you how many times I've heard, why does she stay? She should have left him. If I was her, I would have left him a long time ago. But, no one sees things behind closed doors. No one knows how a person got to that point of where they feel they need to stay. There are economic reasons, there's financial reasons. The person who's your abuser could be controlling all the finances and they don't have any way to escape, but if you know of a person who's suffering from domestic violence, and if you are aware of that, you have to reach out. Don't be a passive bystander. Guide them gently to the resources that are available to them. Encourage them. Understand that you're dealing with someone whose self-esteem is shattered. Their confidence is very low. This has taken time. Over time, they've been broken down mentally by their abuser, feeling that they can't and they're not worth it. So another thing is that they don't know their self-worth, and they feel that this is what they deserve. And an abuser will manipulate to think that, I am being treated this way because I deserve to be treated like this. I am the cause of his behavior. So there's so much underlining this whole situation where, society just shows that they're very judgmental. And, and with social media and Instagram and Facebook, you have to portray yourself as a perfect family, a perfect relationship. You take 1,000 pictures and you put it up there, but nobody knows what goes on to get to those pictures. No one knows, are those pictures real? Are they fake? And it's just a society where it's based on what can I show others and get their approval and the validation from others, but there's just so many things that go on that we don't know about. So we have to be less judgmental, and it's kind of hard, but we have to pray that comes about.
Right, because sometimes even when you try to help a friend, you end up becoming a victim.
Exactly.
Or they end up turning away from you because even though they know what you're saying may be true, they don't want to hear it.
Right. And that is why, the way we approach someone who is a victim of domestic violence has to be gentle. We have to be supportive. We have to, give them these outlets, these resources, and know that it's ultimately up to them to get the help they need. But we can still reach out. We can still do our part and not just stay quiet and not just keep a lid on things and hoping that it will go away and they'll figure it out. Losing my family is just very serious to me and our family. It came as a very big shock. And one of the things to regret is that we weren't as close as we should have been. And if we hadn't been close, we could have reached out and gotten the help that they needed before the murder had happened.
So was it? Do you feel like it was your fault of not being close, or was it that she may not have allowed you to be close because of the situation?
I think that, we just, as families, we weren't as involved back then with, you see, like, what people portray to be, and you just didn't ask the questions that needed to be asked, and I feel that we could have done more as a family, but we weren't as close to my relatives that were murdered, and I go back a million times in my head and said, what if I had done things differently, or had spent more time with them and gotten to know them, and I feel like the opportunity was stolen. But, I also, think that maybe it would have, damaged me even more to have gone through that knowingly and been, in part of it. There's reasons that things happen, and it's sad that it did happen, but it's a learning experience and how to recognize things earlier on when you're dealing with other people who are victims of domestic violence, and what you can do and not stay quiet. And it was a completely shock. It wasn't something that we had talked about or even knew about. So it's hard. You have to tell yourself that I did the best I could have back then, but I learned from it, and I won't make the same mistake again.
I guess the reason I asked that question also is because I know regardless of how much you want to be with somebody, if that person don't reach their hand out or open a door for you, sometimes you're kind of in a situation where it's kind of hopeless. I mean, what can you do except for offer yourself or extend yourself or try to be supportive of somebody? How do you crack it in? How do you crack the door open? How do you get in when basically they've shut you out because of their own embarrassment?
That is hard. It is hard to get someone to open up, and you just got to keep showing them love and gain their trust. Trust is a very big thing, with victims of domestic violence. Who can I trust? Who can I talk to? So you just have to you have to keep reaching out no matter how much they shut down. You just got to keep doing it, and then hopefully, and you pray about it, that they'll let you in little by little. But you have to let them know, and we have to let victims know that they don't need to be afraid, that there are resources that they can reach out to. There are hotlines like the National Domestic Hotline, and educate our children at a very young age, before they start dating, of what we need to look out for in a partner versus like the red flags that we need to look out for, and be involved in our children's lives, be involved in what they do on social media. There's just so much that we can do as parents and start early now to help prevent this and to bring more awareness to this.
Yes. We mentioned early on you mentioned the pandemic and its effect on domestic violence. What are the reasons for that, do you think? I know it's more than one.
Well, the clear-cut answer would be that, when you're quarantined, these victims are quarantined with their abusers. It's spiked up because they don't have access to go out and be with their friends and, reach the people that they need to reach. Everything is virtual, whereas children also, they've gone from interacting with school. So a kid that's been in school for a couple of hours have now gone fully remote. They've gone hybrid. And so there's so many things. I can't even tell you how many teachers and social workers that I've talked to have told me that they can't reach their students. They don't get online. They're, and all they can do is keep calling and calling because the resources have been so exhausted during this pandemic. So there really needs to be protocols that help put these people out there in the workforce and say, get out there, go and do the home visits. We need to get more people. We need to make sure that we get a handle on this because this, I believe it was called, one newspaper had reported as an opportunist infection, which is, classic. I think it was a great way to describe domestic violence right now, because these people are being abused at home and nothing has been really being done about it, and it's spiked globally. I mean, I think the reports that came in from China, that China's domestic violence reports have tripled. France is at a 30% high now. Spain is following up at 20%. I mean, it's just amazing how, this has been affected globally, not just nationally.
And on top of everybody else getting sick and dying with the virus, then domestic violence is on top of that.
Exactly. You know, and our typical day, I believe the domestic hotlines, they receive over 200,000 phone calls. You know, so it's just absolutely dreadful. You know, this is something that we need to talk about. We need to get more involved in, not just in the month of October, but, you know, every day we need to make a way to get a handle on this.
Do you see any daylight in the future with this?
I do. I feel if more people, you know, voice their opinions, there's more advocacy for domestic violence victims. There's more seminars. There's more teachings on it. You know, people get involved instead of, you know, staying quiet about it. Not just the advocates that are out there now, but everybody, you know, comes together and really gets involved. I mean, you could just do a show of hands, and at least one person would have known somebody who's been affected by domestic violence in their family or their friends, you know, just to become more involved. You know, healthcare professionals, they need to do more screening in regards to, like, when they have visits from these patients and screen better to see if there's any abuse that's going on at home. It just really needs to be, you know, at the forefront.
Yes. Do you see any difference in the numbers in terms of, I guess the domestic, I'm trying to say the physical abuse, the mental abuse, is there a breakdown, I mean, in terms of the numbers globally, or is it all lumped into one category?
I believe it's all lumped into one category from what I've seen, you know, because it does go hand in hand. You know, with emotional, there is physical, you know, it all goes hand in hand.
Wow. And it goes on every day.
Yes,
I
it
know.
does.
I was going to ask you
there's
about
20 people per minute. Sorry.
20 people per minute.
20 people per minute are physically abused by an intimate partner in the United States. 20 people per minute.
Wow. You know, I guess it's just totally amazing. I'm saying wow, because I've had people on the show, Cece, that was in what I would consider a totally dysfunctional relationship, you know, based on my upbringing. I'm sure you would too. But they felt that they wasn't being shown love or didn't feel like their partner loved them unless they got popped upside the head.
Right. Exactly. And that goes from how they grew up and what they thought was the norm. You know, in certain cultures, the man is the authority and women are submissive, you know, and especially in the Chinese culture, you know, it's just a way of life, you know, what you've accepted over the years, what you've seen your family accepted, what is the norm. And we need to change that. We need to make people aware that that is not normal, that is not functional, you know, and we need to, like I said, educate our children about this so that the next generation of boys and girls are able to treat with more respect. We need to change that within our family. If we see, you know, and in this stressful time with COVID, you know, it's only normal that the stressors as parents, you know, we may lash out aggressively, and we have to take a moment to ourselves and deal with what's stressing us out so that we don't affect our children. Just so many things and so many elements that go into domestic violence.
Yeah, I wish they just had one ruler, man, but they keep moving that stick up. They keep moving that ruler, what's normal and what's not, you know.
Yeah. Mhm.
They keep moving the norms.
I agree.
So when you were writing your book, Cece, who was your intended audience?
My intended audience, you know, when I wrote this book, it was a way for me to heal from the experience that I had. But when I wrote this book, and I felt that God just inspired me in a way to say, you know, don't just write this book for you, but also write it for others who are dealing with abuse, who are dealing with grief, who are dealing with loss, really come to a breaking point in their lives, whether it be, you know, their job, their health, anything. Because there's, at one point or another, we all reach our breaking point. And the breaking point means a point where we reach in life where we say, are we going to give up? Are we going to press forward? Are we going to move on? And it's just it's so important that I made a character that I wanted to reach people where we could not only just see, what it's like to be a domestic violence victim, but also to know and inspire people to know that there's a way out of this. There is a light at the end of the tunnel.
So is your book broken down in chapters, or are you talk about particular situations that occurred at different points? This
book is about a domestic violence victim. It's it's been inspired by personal experiences that I've gone through, but it's about a young woman who's been in a physically and emotionally abusive marriage for the last 5 years, and it's about the obstacles and challenges she faces along the way to leave her toxic abuser. She goes through so much, and that ultimately brings her to her faith and submission to God, and how God has changed her and led her, out of this darkness. So it's a very inspirational read, and I feel like everybody can benefit from reading this book.
So what are some of the baby steps for a person that want to go from where you were to, where you now? I mean, is there some baby steps they could take, or is that something that
first it would be, first is to recognize, are you in a toxic relationship? Look out for the red flags. Is your partner acting hot and cold or playing any obsessive behavior? Guilting you to only spending time with them, blaming you for their actions. When I was in the relationship that I was in with my toxic abuser, he had a drinking problem. And some of the things that he would say is, you're the one that makes me drink. You're the one that makes me do this. Look out for those things. Look out for, are you walking on eggshells, 90% of the time because you're afraid he's going to blow up? Or, is he very critical and controlling of your behavior? Is he isolating you away from friends and family? And then, setting rules on appearance of what you dress or how you should dress, where you go. Are you constantly getting text messages and then being bombarded by that? So you have to kind of first recognize those signs. And if you are in that relationship, you need to seek out counseling and figure out, why are you in that relationship? Why are you accepting this treatment? And and if you're too far gone in this relationship and you find yourself, being in a domestic violent relationship and you have children, you have to find a safe way to get out. Think of your safety, think of your children's safety. Give yourself motivation to get out of this relationship. Know that you're worth it. And that comes with counseling, that comes with prayer, that comes with, getting the help that you desperately need, because, it can only end up more terrible. It can end up like what happened to my cousins. It's a dangerous situation, and it's a downward spiral. You have to look out for your partner making these false promises that he's going to change, because that is what I had stayed in that relationship for so long, is because my partner said, I'm getting help I need. But it would only just keep going on in a cycle of abuse. It would continue. So you have to take these steps, recognize the signs, get the help that you need, reach out to the National Domestic Hotline. There's a great website. It's called domesticshelters.org that gives you a valuable source of all this information, toolkits of how to safely leave a toxic abuser, and things, shows you where the shelters you can get help from. And, you just got to make that change and know that you are worth it, that your life is important, that you're precious. God brought you here for a reason, but he didn't want you to be with someone who's abusive emotionally or physically, and love should not hurt that way. Love should be supportive, and it's nurturing, and know that you can do better, you will do better, and if you get the help that you need and get out of it.
So do you feel like a person, a man or a woman that's opinionated and controlling has the potential to be abusive?
Controlling, yes. It's emotionally abusive to be controlled. Not opinionated. You can be opinionated, but be respectful of others' opinions. But controlling, yes. Controlling what you wear, controlling, so many different financially, being manipulative, yeah, those are signs. Those are red flags of abusive partners.
When you were writing the book, what was your biggest challenges outside of
writing?
Outside the whole technical part of it?
Emotionally, it was very challenging emotionally. Writing certain scenes and shaping the character of Kristen Summers, who's the main character of the book. Emotionally, it was very challenging for me to write these things down, some of which, not all, personal experience that I've gone through. Just seeing it written down, knowing, wow, I can't believe I allowed that to happen. I can't believe I went through that. So that was challenging for me. But also, it made me realize how God helped me through some of the darkest storms of my life, and especially with this abusive relationship, when I turned to him, how he led so many people in my life that helped me along the way and helped me reach to a point where I knew that this was not what I deserved and I needed to leave,
Did he cause it? You said he was an alcoholic. Did he cause any type of substance abuse with you?
Did he cause any substance abuse with me?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
I know people when they're going through being, you understand my question? Because sometimes when people going through stuff, then they end up going to drink themselves or prescribe medication to deal with stuff.
No, I never had a problem with drinking. I never had a problem with substance abuse. I was always the one to try to tell him, you need to stop drinking. I tried to get him help. But again, you can't help someone that doesn't want to help themselves. I loved him very much. I cared about him. But it was never a point where I experienced substance abuse myself. No, it didn't cause me to become addicted to any substance.
Well, I mean, that's a good thing because it's so easy because people, when they're dealing with stuff and they're looking for a way out, that's the first thing they do is go run to smoke a cigarette or run to go get a drink or, something. They don't realize they're exchanging one situation for another one.
Right. And depending on something else to give them comfort and need. And I think my comfort and the thing that I went to was God. And I think that's probably why I didn't have a substance abuse problem, and I'm lucky and I feel very blessed that I didn't have to go through that,
Well,
I think that would have been devastating for my children.
Yeah, well, we can thank God for that one because it's so easy to slip down that rabbit hole.
It is. And I've heard a lot of things from other families who've experienced that, and they've dealt with that, and they are dependent. You're absolutely right. They try to substitute one thing for another. So it is hard, that you have to keep your mind right. You have to stay positive. You have to get the help you need. Counseling is a big thing. I'm very much an advocate for therapy, group therapy, family therapy, whatever you need to get it done, do it, because it is a downward spiral, and it's very easily to get swept up into that.
Was your husband involved at all, or your ex involved at all in any of your church or your transition, or did he just fall off?
No, he was not. He was Catholic. I mean, he is Catholic. He was not involved in my transition from Catholic to Christian. I just want to make it clear, the abusive relationship that I was in was not with my ex-husband. It was in the relationship that followed my separation from my ex-husband.
Okay, well, we definitely want to get that straight because we don't want him
to
we don't want him to stop.
Absolutely.
I had a similar experience, Cece, but mine was quite a bit younger than yours because when I first came to California, I was the only black child in a Catholic school. And for years, I went to Mass every day, wore uniforms, and did all that stuff. And all of a sudden, I got transferred to a public school, and it was a hell of a culture shock. That's all I can say. It was it was totally different what I had been, accustomed to. You know what I mean? I had got accustomed to the, I guess the whole formal situation. Going to mass every day and structured lunch and wearing press uniforms every day. And when I went to public school, man, I started seeing kids with mismatched socks on and pants too short and shirts wasn't buttoned up correctly. And oh man, I thought I was being punished. I was trying to figure out what did I do to deserve this.
No, I agree. It is a culture shock. I grew up also in the Catholic, like I said, a Catholic church. I went to Catholic school all my life. Up into high school, I was in Catholic school, and it was very different when I, went from Catholic church to Christian. But like I said, it was what worked for me. It was a different world, but I felt more relaxed and more connected than I ever felt to God. I still do. I watch the teachings of Elevation Church, Pastor Steve Furtick, the blessed, anointed man, and I instill those Christian values into my children, and one thing going back and reflecting on this, when you're in a relationship in the beginning, you'll see that the narcissistic abuser will try to get so much information. You try to rush things, try to have you commit to them very early on in the relationship. And you're like, wow, this is fantastic. This is amazing. I've never felt this from anybody. Like, this person obviously must really love me. But it's only to get information out of you that they can use later on and use as ammunition towards you. They want to know, your time sequence, how long it takes you to get from home to work, and, and it's just so many different things that, how in the beginning of a relationship that you think this person is really in love, you have to watch out for certain things, And God says in Proverbs chapter 4:23, guard your heart, don't give too much too soon. Go slowly, get to know the person that you're with, And I think that's what we need to do, is teach that.
Wow. Because the representative might not be like the real person, huh?
Exactly.
Well, guys, I don't want you to feel like we're the only one that's representative. Sometimes the females are representatives, too.
Oh, yeah. I mean, domestic violence is also, it affects men. 1 in 9 men have experienced that, a domestic violence in their life. It's not just.
What was that number again?
1 in 9 men.
One in 9 men. Wow. 1 in 9 men have experienced physical or sexual violence by a current or previous partner. That's not that many. That's not that many men, Cece. And there's a lot of crazy females out there. It's still a number, right? It's still a big number. True. And it's something, also men don't talk about this. They don't want to be weak. They don't want to show that they're, that they're looking like they're weak, that they're being abused at home. When I was an EMT many years ago, I had a partner who was in a very toxic, abusive relationship. And he would tell me stories, and it was kind of strange for me because you never heard of it the other way around, where a man is being abused, a man is being hit on. But it does happen. It's very, very, it's there. It's absolutely there. It's happening, So it's for men and women. They are both domestic violence victims. We hear a lot more of women reported, but men are being affected too by this. Yeah, I just want to say something for the men, because these women nowadays, they going to the gym, working out, getting muscles, and they coming out popping their dudes upside the head. So I just want brothers to know that I'm speaking up for you, man. So Cece, did the book align with your expectations? Honestly, I got much more positive feedback than I thought I would have gotten. I've reached people across the world. I've had people reach out to me on Instagram from Africa, even asking me, where can I get this book? The story sounds like a great story that can help so many people here in my country.
people from England, people from France, that are reaching out to me about the book. And it wasn't at all what I expected. It succeeded more than what I have expected, It surpassed it. So God has been really good so far in regards to, like, helping me reach my message to these people and to the general public. And I just hope it just increases even more.
Right. Have you been on a book tour yet?
No, we're actually putting that in works now. Just trying to get the book out there and get people to read it. I'm very excited about it. We have a trailer that's coming out soon. We worked on a trailer to promote it. Had some wonderful actors that we casted to play the characters of the book. And it's going to be something when it gets released, and we hope to have that released by the end of this month.
Oh, fantastic. I'm sure that's going to be help a lot and do some great, great things. And I see you said, why do you say books are important to creating social change?
It's very important because, it helps someone look through a different lens. It forces you to walk in another person's shoes. It changes your opinion because you have to read a story through someone else's lens. It changes your perspective. It changes through your world through understanding and writing new narratives for yourself.
Yeah, it makes sense. We have a switchboard full of people, and they've been awful quiet. Press number 1 on your phone if you have a question for Cece. I'm sure she'd be glad to answer the question. Just press number 1. We'd be glad to let you in. I don't want to think I'm the only one that's been socked upside the head by a woman or something. But I'm not weak. I'll talk about it. But press number 1 on your phone and give us your questions. I'd like to hear them. So, Cece, what do you feel like next for you? What do you have in store next?
I really enjoyed directing this trailer that we just came out with, and it's definitely something that I see foreseeing, hoping that the next step is to, do more projects like this in film. Also, I have a second book that I'm working on right now. It's more spiritual and more talks about, the Bible and different stories from the Bible. So I'm working on that as well. So there's a lot more that I see that God has in store for me, and just hoping to spread his message, and speak out and advocate for domestic violence victims, but not just domestic violence victims, also for child abuse victims, to touch on certain very sensitive topics like sex trafficking. So there's just a lot more in store for me, and I feel God will guide me in that way.
Wow, I'm sure he will, and I'm sure he's just doing his work. And I'm sitting here kind of scratching my head because I'm hearing a director in our mix.
Just however God can use me is, where I want to be.
Well, seems like that's the direction. Seems like that's the path you're on, because it all starts pretty much where you are. Definitely being able to write. That's a lot of things that I guess some directors can't do. They have writers to write and then they direct, but it's definitely a blessing when you can do both.
It is, and it's, I have to give, again, credit to God, and it may sound, like I just talking about God so much, but he is the driving force behind all of this, and he's the reason that I'm here today, how I got out of the relationship that I'm in. I've got out of every single challenge and, come out on top. It's just amazing what he's provided for me, and before I would have never thought in a million years today I would be speaking with you on a podcast live and having my book published. It's been such a great accomplishment. And if it wasn't for him, none of this would have been possible. So I have to give him all the glory and the credit for that.
Absolutely, and I totally agree with you on that as far as that's concerned. You've seen how I started off the show.
I was listening to that song, and it was just like, absolutely, it made me feel and gave me confirmation that's exactly where I needed to be right now, tonight, at this time, is talking with you on this show. So it's amazing how he moves. It's a miracle, honestly.
Yes, he keeps me getting up every day, and I quit every other day, but I start back the next day because I feel like if he wanted me to do something else, I would be.
Mhm.
But definitely, you have a message through your book that would definitely touch a lot of people, and we just got to stay prayerful that something you do, something you say, as well as myself, that would penetrate and help change and direct somebody's life. And that's actually why I do this show, to reach out and touch someone, and a lot of times if they don't get it the first time, they can replay it and it'll hit them the second time.
Right. I think that God brings people into service in different ways. There's healthcare, there's social work, there's radio, there's media, there's writing. We all play a part, and we can all, spread his message through the means that he's given us, So we all have a purpose.
So very true. Well, Cece, tell everybody where they can go get your book. I know we talked around it, but we didn't tell them where they could go get it. And is it a print, or did you do an audio version as well?
I did an ebook and a paperback, and it's available on Amazon.com. It's The Breaking Point by Cece Reeves. And you can also go to www.cecereeves.com, and you can click on one of the links there, purchase, and that will direct you to the Amazon page where it's available. And you can also follow me on Facebook, Stories by Cece Reeves, and on Instagram as well, Stories by Cece.
Yeah, well, we definitely have to get a hold to a copy as well.
It's a great read, and, for readers that love suspense and thrillers, they'll enjoy this book as well. But it has a message for everyone, like I said. I feel that this book will touch someone in every way, in their own way.
Yeah, well, I'm very passionate about the subject and getting the word out. We published the Bridget Harris story that, went through sexual abuse from her father, which was a big story a few years back. And it talks a lot about the same situations that, people just don't realize, and then the ones that do realize, they don't speak up for whatever their reasons may be. And, it definitely won't elicit any type of change until people do recognize and do talk about it, because there's too many people are passive. And I don't know. I guess coming from different cultures, they see things differently. I don't know. We just got to stay, like I said, stay prayerful and hope God continues to show us the way through this.
And he will. I feel that he will. Nothing happens overnight, but if we bring more awareness and we are remaining prayerful, things will change. I'm very hopeful, and I feel that he's put us in a very great position to reach people, you through your podcast and your listeners who are tuning in to listen to it. So that is a step right there. The seed is being already planted. So feel that he will. He definitely will. We just have to have faith, and we have to remain in prayer.
I totally 100% agree. And we're going to continue to push your show and push your book. And I'm definitely going to make sure we get a copy of it. And when you get your next book ready, come back and share it with us first.
Thank you, Lamont.
We'll continue to, like I said, represent. And continue doing good work,
much.
And you be safe out there, girl. I know you got to go to work, do what you got to do, but look, mask up, do everything you got to do. Put on two different coats. Yeah, and double PPEs and stuff, and let me know more if they got some strange stuff in that vaccine. I was telling one of my friends the other day, I said, everything is cool till I start seeing people order a whole bunch of rare meat.
Oh, really?
I watch too many scary movies, you know what I mean? I know what my problem is.
no, I feel hopeful about this vaccine, and I feel that it will be a good thing, So, but you stay safe yourself, and, for everybody that's listening, wear your mask, continue to do what you need to do to protect yourself and your family.
Absolutely. And thank you so much, Cece, for joining us. And don't forget, watch out for them people. They start ordering a whole bunch of rare meat.
Well, I'll keep that in mind.
All right, you be good.
Thank you so much.
Come back and, for sure. And come back and join us again.
Thank you, Lamont, for having me. God bless you.
God bless you too. Everyone, Ms. Cece Reeves, the author of Breaking Point. Go out and support. Go get a book. I know if you don't have any personal situations, I know you know somebody that does. You could definitely gift it to them, and they may not love you today, but they will love you tomorrow. That's for sure. Mm-hmm. So listen, come back next week. We'll be back same time, 2:30 PST. Come back and join us, and the show will be available worldwide in about a minute. And if you missed something, tell your mama, tell your daddy, tell your neighbor across the street, or the milkman where they can go get the show, because there's no reason not to hear it. Tell them I said so. All right. And in the meantime, on the way, put your ears on this.
I'm getting to the point now when I get to church, I want to ask somebody, did you mess up before you got saved? So they can say yes. I say, you're the one I want to sit with, because I know you're going to praise the Lord. I don't want to sit with no dude who is choosy, who feels like I don't even lift him up because I already got it. Well, why you sitting there like you're dead or something? You got your praise on too. You ought to be bumping, jumping, shouting and running on your feet for the second coming. Miss me with that attitude, sweet. You want me to be cool, but I ain't, cause I can't. Cause if you only know what he done for me, the things I used to do, how I used to be, I can't lie. I got to testify, I was blind. He opened up my eyes. I know you sanctified now, but there was a time, if it hadn't been for God, you'd have lost your mind. Get with this, I don't miss or resist this. The Lord is not slack concerning his promises. I feel a shout coming on about now. Y'all pray for me, cause it's finna get loud. Turn up your praise. Turn it up. Come on. Turn up your praise. Yeah. Turn it up. I feel the spirit of God here. Test 1, 2, is this microphone on? Y'all still sitting down like something's wrong. If the Lord brought you through another day, come on, clap your hands and give God the praise. I know you don't mind praising when the going's good. You want to show him love and how well you should. But can you still praise him through the pains and hurts? Oh yeah, now we having church when money's low, work is slow, won't nothing grow. You're feeling low. That's when it's time to let the devil know he got to go. You ain't taking no more. And after having done all you can to stand, throw your head back, lift up your hands, begin to thank the Lord for what he's already done. Count your blessings out loud, one by one. Turn up your praise. Come on. Turn it up. Everybody. Turn up your praise. Woo. Turn it up. I feel the spirit of God here. Turn up your praise. Hallelujah. Turn it up. Turn up your praise. Turn it up. Victory shall be mine. Oh yeah.
Now let me tell you something.
Oh yeah.
If you don't get any other taste this year,
Oh yeah.
start moving us
Oh yeah.
into a new level.
Oh yeah.
I'm ready to shout now because I already know what I'm going to say.
Enemy on your case, quote a verse, don't curse. You're going in the battle, better send you the first. Cause the war is in the spirit, demon feared when they hear. Put the devil in check, he won't come near. Unbelievers ain't knowing, they say you'll be faking. Pointing at me laughing, they be praising, hating. But just because I'm humble don't mean I'm soft. When I'm praising my God, you best back off, cause I'm his child. Don't tell them what they do, they tell me wrong. I got the break for you, that's why I think him out loud for my daily bread. Cause I'm not a closed mouth, don't get sad. So don't better get upset, it's just me and the boys. With no regret, don't give a heck, making a joyful noise. Taking a praise to another level, and ain't nobody mad but the devil.